In this video, we will discuss increasing the elevation range of a height map in order to be able to add brushes that have higher elevation than what the elevation of the terrain is. That way we're increasing the maximum elevation range possible. The reason why we have to do this is because TerreSculptor normalizes imported height maps and downloaded height maps in order to be able to maintain the highest quality. So if I import a terrain, I'm just going to import a GeoTIFF file. The reason I'm going with the GeoTIFF file is because it has GIS information in it for the elevation range. So now if we look at this 1012 by 1012 height map, we can see that its elevation goes from 0 to 100, so it's using the full scale. TerreSculptor uses the value ranges from 0 to 100, which is similar to a percent of the full scale range of any file. For example, files don't have unlimited range to them. If I have a 16-bit PNG file, it can only hold the value between 0 and 65,535. So the same way that the values are between 0 and 100 in TerreSculptor, those are basically a percentage. When you save it as a PNG 16, for example, 0 would be 0 and 100% would be 65,535 in the PNG 16 file. Same for if you have a 32-bit floating point file. Those go between 0.0 and 1.0. So the 0 value in TerreSculptor would be 0 in the file, and the 100% value would be 1.0 in the 32-bit TIFF. So files don't have unlimited range. So similarly, TerreSculptor doesn't have unlimited range in elevation. So you have to adjust the elevation in the editor in order to be able to get more room if you need to extend with a higher mountain inside of a terrain. What I'm going to do first off, like if I look at the GIS properties, we can see that it's read in all of the GIS data from the GeoTIFF. So now if I go into terrain properties, geoscale, and set the spacing to the GIS values, it now scales the terrain to the real world size. Now the issue that we have with this is because the terrain is using the full elevation range, we can't bring in brushes in the topology tool or the brush device that have actually a higher resolution or a higher elevation range than what this terrain has. So what we need to do to fix that is we go to the Modify menu, we go to Altitude, and we're going to set the altitude high to 50 so that it is at 50%. So now we're using the bottom half of the elevation range. Now what we need to do is go back to the terrain properties and change the Y spacing to twice the value, 200%. So it's 85.4. So we need to change it to 170.852. That will take the elevation range back to the original real-world scale. So now if we go to the topology tool, for example, and we go to merge a file so that we can paste a brush in, let's say we'll go with Mount Rainier. Now, as you can see, this brush has the ability to have a higher elevation range than what the original elevation of the full scale height map used to be. So now I can paste in I can paste in a terrain brush that is now a higher elevation than what my terrain was originally. This is going to take a while because it's a 10,000 by 10,000 terrain. So and we're pasting in a large brush, so it's going to take a minute. There we go. We've now pasted in a really high mountain into our terrain and given ourselves enough headroom to be able to actually go to a higher elevation. Because this was the original elevation that was full scale. Now we've been able to set it so that we have a higher elevation range for the terrain. Anyway, that covers this video.